In the previous episode, Shane led Damon and the others to a remote island in search of Silas's tomb. They uncovered a shocking truth about the cure: it's only enough for one person. The story picks up right where the last episode left off. Jeremy and Bonnie finally reach the deepest part of the tomb and discover a stone figure. It's the resting place of Silas, who has been asleep for over 2,000 years. In Silas's hands is a tightly held box, which contains the cure to immortality. Shortly after Bonnie opens Silas's tomb, Galen and Damon arrive at the entrance. With Damon no longer of use, Galen plans to kill him. Along the way, Damon had really impressed Galen, making him somewhat reluctant to finish him off. Just then, Damon fights back, ignoring the burning sensation of the ropes. As they face off, Rebecca shows up. Damon tries to form an alliance with Rebecca, but as one of the originals, she doesn't see Galen as a threat. All she wants is to quickly get rid of the hunter and snatch the one and only cure. But to her surprise, Galen's arsenal seems endless, and Rebecca ends up getting outmaneuvered. Damon, too, is trapped by chains laced with vervain. As a lone hunter, it's clear why Galen has managed to reach the highest level of his craft. Fortunately, Stefan and Elena arrived in time, and Damon escaped. Galen leaps into the tomb. Stefan told Elena to go down the tomb first, and he would catch up after he rescued Damon. As soon as Elena descends into the tomb, she hears a voice behind her, familiar yet strange. When she turns and sees who it is, she's both shocked and furious. They immediately clash, fighting each other fiercely, because there was only one dose of the cure. Elena and the others definitely wouldn't use it on Klaus, leading Tyler to reconsider his position. Tyler, who tends to get cocky when the odds are in his favor, is the first to flee at the sign of trouble. Caroline quickly tries to calm Tyler down. She doesn't want to part ways with him and plans to plead with Klaus in person. Klaus sits quietly on the couch, trapped by the boundary spell, yet still carrying himself with the air of a victor. Caroline begs him to let Tyler go, but Klaus refuses without hesitation. Tyler betrayed him first, and has repeatedly defied him. If Klaus lets him off easily, how could he ever maintain his status as an original? Caroline has no choice but to compromise. She promises that Tyler will flee far away and never set foot in town again.
Tell him to leave town immediately. And tell him to run and hide in a place I will never find him.
Of course.
Caroline repeatedly leveraged Klaus's love for her, pushing him to back down time and time again. After Stefan saved his brother, a weakened Damon feared becoming a burden and urged Stefan to go help Elena immediately. When Stefan reaches the entrance, a gravely injured Shane begs him for help. Stefan ignores him, letting Shane feel the same despair of losing hope. As Stefan leaves, the desperate Shane hallucinates seeing his dead wife. It's an illusion created by Silas. Shane thinks he's failed, but Caitlin comforts him, saying, "You've already done it." This is Silas's final bit of comfort to Shane, who's been nothing more than a pawn. The cure has fused with Silas's stone body, and no matter how hard Jeremy and Bonnie try, they can't pry it free. Bonnie suddenly realizes the only way to extract the cure is to awaken Silas with blood, but trading the release of a monstrous god for the cure doesn't seem like a good deal. An enraged Jeremy grabs a rock, ready to smash Silas's arm off. As Bonnie moves to calm Jeremy down, she is suddenly stabbed by Galen, who has just arrived. Galen slices his palm, intending to use his blood to awaken Silas first, then kill him with the cure. This is the hunter's mission, but Jeremy doesn't care about any mission, and they begin to fight. Despite both being seasoned hunters, Jeremy's skills aren't as honed as Galen's, and he quickly finds himself overpowered. Thankfully, Elena arrives just in time. Stefan ventures deeper into the tomb and stumbles upon an injured Elena. Katherine, true to her reputation as the most calculating woman, always knows how to capitalize on any situation. Jeremy and Bonnie had no idea that the Elena standing before them was actually Katherine in disguise. With the cure so close, Katherine grows impatient. She urges Jeremy to get the cure first, but Jeremy insists on treating Bonnie first.
I'm done playing nice.
Katherine!
It's been too long, little Gilbert.
Caroline reluctantly said goodbye to Tyler, and soon after, Klaus walked out of the barrier. Apparently, Bonnie's injury caused the boundary to collapse early. Klaus has given all his mercy and kindness to Caroline, even though she still doesn't love him back. The dried-up Silas greedily sucks the blood from Jeremy's wrist, but still refuses to let go of the cure. Frustrated with the slow progress, Katherine bites into Jeremy's neck, offering more blood. Silas instinctively grabs Jeremy's head, while Katherine takes the chance to steal the cure. After draining all of Jeremy's blood, Silas snaps his neck. A gravely injured Bonnie can only watch helplessly as Jeremy dies right in front of her. When Elena sees her brother's lifeless body, she completely breaks down. Ever since Jeremy became a hunter, the resurrection ring no longer works on him, but Elena clings to this hope, refusing to believe her brother is truly dead. The Salvatore brothers don't have the heart to tell her the truth. Damon tells Stefan to take Elena home, while he stays on the island to search for the missing Bonnie, because Bonnie was the only hope for saving Jeremy. While searching, Damon runs into Rebecca, who only then learns that Katherine has stolen the cure. Surprisingly, Rebecca feels deep sympathy for Elena, knowing all too well the pain of losing a loved one.
Yeah, sneaky little bitch must have been spying on us for weeks. She killed Jeremy.
Damon insists on continuing his search for Bonnie. Rebecca initially plans to chase after Katherine, but when Damon reveals that Silas has been resurrected, she silently follows him instead. Though Rebecca, as an original, was far more powerful than Damon, deep down she was still just a girl, trying to cover up her unease. She changes the subject and asks Damon why he didn't stay by Elena's side, letting Stefan have that chance instead. Rebecca kept talking nonstop, but Damon had no interest in engaging with her. Suddenly, Damon grabs Rebecca, using her body to shield against an incoming arrow. Galen's sneak attack fails, and as he tries to flee, Damon catches up and knocks him out. When Bonnie wakes up, she finds that it was Shane who saved her, but she's immediately on guard. Shane's legs had clearly been crushed by falling rocks. There was no way he could have made it out alive. With a fanatical gleam in his eyes, Shane explains that it was Silas who saved him. Silas is fulfilling his promise, and all the lives sacrificed to him were not in vain. Bonnie refuses to believe Shane anymore, but Shane reminds her of Jeremy's death. Overcome with grief, Bonnie nearly loses control. Shane, acting like a fatherly figure, gently tries to console Bonnie, telling her that only Silas can bring Jeremy back. In order to make Elena accept the reality, Stefan invited a doctor and Matt to comfort her, but Elena's reaction was very violent. Meanwhile, under interrogation from Damon and Rebecca, Galen reveals the whole story. It was Katherine who found him and led him to the island. Katherine knew about Silas because she had a mole in the town Haley. They had formed an alliance back in New Orleans. Ever since Haley set foot in town, Katherine had been orchestrating this from behind the scenes. Damon has to keep searching for Bonnie, so he hands Galen over to Rebecca. Damon's suggestion was to toss Galen into a deep well and let him fend for himself. Shane tells Bonnie that while Silas has been revived, he hasn't regained his full power. To bring Jeremy back, they must complete the third sacrifice of 12 people. Bonnie immediately recoils. There's no way she can sacrifice 12 innocent lives just to save Jeremy.
Your grams, everybody you or your friends have ever lost.
For a brief moment, Bonnie wavers, but then she breaks free from Shane's hold. However, as she runs, she suddenly trips on something. Jeremy is lying in a pool of blood, crying out in pain. Bonnie was trapped in a hallucination without realizing it. Just as she was about to save Jeremy, the illusion suddenly vanished. Bonnie falls to her knees, her shock turning to confusion, and finally, to despair. Damon is late in finding Bonnie, and he gives up hope, but Bonnie appears on her own.
I know how to bring Jeremy back.
Meanwhile, Rebecca throws Galen into the deep well, leaving him to rot there. In Galen's backpack, she finds an iron mask, something Silas left behind. Galen warns Rebecca that no one has ever seen Silas's true face. He is the most powerful witch in history, capable of endless transformations and impossible to pin down. Clearly rattled, Rebecca just wants to get off this island as quickly as possible. But on the way, she stumbles upon Shane's corpse. The real Shane had already died. The one who had been manipulating Bonnie was Silas in disguise. Elena was devastated by her brother's death, and becoming a vampire further amplified her emotions, drowning her in a tidal wave of grief. When she hears that Damon has found Bonnie, a small spark of hope reignites within her. It's not until evening that Damon and Bonnie return to town. Caroline noticed that Damon's face looked terrible. It turns out Bonnie has already been brainwashed by Silas. She wants to help him complete the human sacrifice. Killing 12 witches would open the veil to the other side. What Damon is truly worried about is that if the barrier between the other side and the living world is broken, all the souls of supernatural beings will return, and there'll be a long line of ghosts waiting to kill him. Bonnie has become obsessed. She is so fixated on resurrecting Jeremy that she doesn't care about the consequences. Elena's brief glimmer of hope is extinguished once again. As Bonnie and Caroline argued, Elena sat there with a vacant stare, her eyes empty. on the verge of a breakdown. Suddenly, the phone rings, silencing the room. Elena answers. It's April. She's been unable to reach Jeremy for a while and is worried. Elena knew about April's feelings for Jeremy, so her first instinct was to hide the truth.
Jeremy can't come to the phone right now. He's not... I'm sorry. He's dead.
Elena admits the truth. Jeremy is dead. She's already made her choice, so there's no point in Bonnie and Caroline continuing to argue. However, Bonnie hasn't given up on her plan. When Bonnie returns home, Silas, in the form of Shane, appears again to brainwash her. Bonnie starts to waver. Opening the veil will only resurrect supernatural beings, meaning the 12 humans sacrificed would have died for nothing. Shane, Silas, tells Bonnie that sacrifices are sometimes necessary for the greater good. Overwhelmed by grief, Elena breaks down completely. She plans to burn down the house with her brother and everything inside it. She has no family left and can no longer live in this place filled with pain. Though Elena says this, she hesitates, clutching the match tightly, showing just how conflicted she is inside. As Elena collapses to the floor in tears, Damon, desperate to pull her out of her despair, uses the sire bond to command Elena to turn off her humanity. Stefan wanted to stop him, but seeing Elena's painful expression, he had to let it go.
It's what I want you to do.
Vampires can turn off their humanity, but humans cannot. Tyler has left town. Jeremy is dead too young, and Matt sobs quietly in his car. Elena quietly stares at a photo of her and her brother, her face completely expressionless. Meanwhile, the Salvatore brothers step outside for a talk. Stefan disagrees with Damon's approach. Although the effect is immediate, it is the worst possible solution.
Jan, you.
Stefan's words make it clear that he has already let go. Damon, on the other hand, still feels insecure, always doubting himself. When the brothers return to the room, Elena lights another match, but this time, all she cares about is how to dispose of her brother's body. She believes it's the most rational and least suspicious way to handle things. The Salvatore brothers try to convince Elena to leave something behind, in case she ever wants to come back home one day. Elena leaves with no hesitation, without even a glance back, with her humanity switched off. Elena is about to transform into a ruthless queen, even more dangerous than Katherine ever was. Elena walks along the road, her expression blank as she takes in her surroundings. Then she lies down in the middle of the street. In reality, she's waiting for prey to come along. Soon, a woman driving by stops to check on her. The woman misunderstood Elena's intentions and thought that Elena had lost consciousness. She rushes back to her car to call for help, but Elena suddenly appears, black veins visible around her eyes, with her humanity off. Elena has mastered Damon's tricks. She greedily drinks the woman's blood, and just as the woman is about to die, Damon rushes in to stop her. Elena justifies her actions, saying that the people in town all take vervain, and this was a rare outsider. Without hesitation, she resumes feeding on the woman's blood. Damon was very helpless. He had to use his ability to recognize his ancestors and command Elena to let the woman go. Although Elena complied, her face was filled with anger. The kinder Elena used to be, the more evil she became after turning off her humanity. Meanwhile, Haley, trying to escape from vampires hunting her, seeks help from Klaus. After Katherine got her hands on the cure, Haley lost her value, and now Katherine wants her dead. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, so Klaus steps in to save Haley. Letting Elena go on a blood binge isn't a solution, so after some discussion, the Salvatore brothers agree that Elena should go back to school. Caroline also agreed, as she could take care of Elena, but just then, Elena walks out completely naked, causing both brothers to freeze. For a moment, the atmosphere is incredibly awkward. Damon repeatedly warned Elena not to feed on anyone or harm anyone. Elena, visibly displeased, reluctantly agreed. The students put up a memorial notice for Jeremy on the bulletin board, but Elena only gave it a quick glance. Instead, she was far more interested in the upcoming cheerleading competition. As the cheer captain, Caroline was genuinely happy when she heard that Elena wanted to join the competition. She thought Elena had finally pulled herself together. Little did she know, Elena had ulterior motives. The locals all use vervain to protect themselves, making them immune to compulsion and feeding, but the visiting teams, they were like walking blood bags. Before the competition, Elena set her sights on a girl from the blue team. Noticing her bright and distinctive hairband, Elena followed the girl onto the school bus, startling her. Elena snatched the girl's hairband and fed on her blood. Had Damon's sire bond lost its effect? Afterward, Elena gleefully showed off the blue hairband to Caroline like a child. At first, Caroline was confused, but as soon as she saw the girl wearing a scarf to cover her neck, she immediately understood. Shocked and furious, Caroline scolded Elena for her recklessness, completely disregarding Damon's warnings, stealing a hairband and attacking someone, then acting so smug about it they were all at their wits' end with Elena. This morning, Stefan received a notice from Sheriff Forbes that the town's blood bank had been stolen from. Stefan immediately suspected Elena. When he tried to probe her about it, Elena bluntly told him she wasn't interested in blood bags. Stefan was worried that Elena would degenerate, so he earnestly persuaded her to try to do better.
Maybe this is the better version of me.
As the competition was about to begin, Elena was ready to take the stage, but Caroline stopped her, afraid that she might cause trouble. But Elena, with her humanity switched off, didn't care about anyone. During the performance, to get back at Caroline, Elena deliberately failed to catch her during a mid-air flip. More than the physical pain, it was Elena's revenge that hurt Caroline the most. Stefan was equally stunned. Was this really the Elena he knew? Petty and vengeful? Elena walked away as if nothing had happened. Stefan immediately followed her, and instead of scolding her, he invited her to go somewhere else and have fun. Elena said she didn't believe him, but her face was beaming.
First, a little bit of vervain, just to take the edge off.